Rulog versus France just ended, which means that all of them have to get their rating for all the performances they had. Some of these performances were great, while others ended up costing Japan the game. These performances will all be rated according to the Sofascore rating system, meaning that they are quite realistic to the actual games that we see in real life. Everybody will start at a 6.5. This is not FIFA, nobody's starting at a 6. And then based off your performances, key passes, defending, everything you end up doing in the game that helps your team, and the things you do in the game that do not, is gonna reflect in that rating. So starting off with the man himself, Isagi. Isagi is the guy who is supposed to lead Japan towards winning this U20 World Cup. And in this game, his performance is a mixed bag. I am giving Isagi a 7.1. We see earlier on in the game that he really did try his best, but France's entire game plan was to cut him off, and that they succeeded in doing so for the majority of the game. I wouldn't say Isagi did anything to harm the team. He had some moments where he was a little bit too selfish when it comes to his shot selection, where he was in a position where he shouldn't really have shots, which resulted in France getting the ball back and then scoring. However, apart from that moment, he was really good in the link-up plays. He adapted well to the new system in the second half, where he was not number 1 or number 2, but he found a way to get himself back into the system, where he ended up facing off with Hugo in the latter stages of the game. This was the highlight of the game for Isagi, where Isagi dribbles past Hugo and would have scored if Rin didn't make his appearance. So Isagi really could have had an 8 or higher if he ended up scoring, but due to the simple fact that he did not, this is an accurate rating for Isagi, a 7.1. Now we move on to Rin. And Rin, I'm sorry, Rin was simply decoration in this game, and he wasn't just decoration, he actively harmed the team, which is why Rin is going to get a 6.0. Didn't offer anything, wasn't really there in the build-up in the later stages of the game. We do see that he did a lot in the build-up earlier on during the first few minutes of the game, but after Isagi really was cut off due to France's game plan, Rin didn't really have much of an appearance. We see strikers like Loki who came back and helped a lot defensively. We don't really see the same from Rin. Rin was non-existent multiple chapters where we barely saw him, and due to the fact that he actively ruined the goal that Isagi was gonna score and make it at least a 3-3 draw, most people are going to think that he deserves a worse rating than the one I'm giving him. But this is purely with emotions aside. He gets a 6, and it really could have been lower due to the simple fact that he didn't add much and actively sold a goal scoring opportunity. So Rin gets a 6. Now the next person we're rating is Karasu, and he actively is the reason why Japan was still in this game. This analysis doesn't come with understanding Eagle's perspective at all. This is purely talking about what happened in the game and not discussing any tactics from Hugo. But when you personally rate his game, Karasu was Japan's best overall player, and I think everybody would agree. He helped both defensively and offensively. Winning the ball off Loki, he was one of the few characters that were able to do that. He got 2 assists, multiple successful dribbles, and if you're not going to say that, oh, the pass for Baru wasn't intentional, he was trying to pass it to Shido instead, it doesn't matter at all. This still counts as an assist. On Karasu's side, there's not much I could say that he did bad. He filled in the gaps. His teammates didn't do as good. He adapted, whether it goes along with Ego's ideologies or not. Karasu is simply the best player that Japan had for this game. Now the next person is Hiyori. Hiyori gets an 8, mainly due to the fact that he is the one that scored the goal. Outside of that, his passing was pretty clean throughout the entire game. He ended up matching the flow when it came to possession. When it comes to Hiyori, he is a very good link-up player, ends up helping Hiyori build the ball and advance through the games. He did everything pretty much effectively, but outside his goal, there's nothing that really stands out that would put him anything higher. But he was really composed, really solid performance from him. Bachira. So Bachira also had one of those games where he didn't really do the most. Everything he did was good, but he didn't do anything crazy or lead to anything crazy. he could have led to Isagi scoring a goal where he gave Isagi a very good pass, but Isagi ultimately was smother contested, which ended up leading to Isagi not scoring. So this is not one of your dominant Bachira performances. He did dribble here and there, did try a few things, but overall a 7.1. Now the next person to rate would be Nico. Nico, he was the standout defender when it came to the defenders that we actually had, because everybody else was simply trash. Nico had one of your quiet, decent games. He had an important interception. He followed along with a good long pass. Compared to the other defenders, he was good. Gets a 6.7. The defenders didn't really do much this game, so there's nothing much I can give. Now, the next person we're rating would be Rayo. Rayo, he was okay, your average, decent performance, a 6.5, didn't add too much to the game, passes here and there, nothing impactful, so he gets a 6.5, your very basic average midfield performance. Same thing goes for Chigiri. We saw some flashes, we saw some cool crosses here and there, but he was pretty limited. Loki was on him when he was using his speed boost, and this is what really Loki did. Compared to a guy like Ren, actually helped out defensively, but this is not about Ren at all, but Chigiri gets a 6.5. Now moving on to one of the worst ratings that I've given so far, Oliver IQ. He gets a 5.6, because tell me what Oliver did. Oliver struggled badly against Loki. He was getting repeatedly beaten time after time, slide tackles that Loki jumps over, but especially when it leads directly to a goal, this is inexcusable. This is our captain. He can't be having performances like this, but it simply is the worst rating I'm giving so far. But the person who actually gets the worst rating to me would be Aryu. And the reason why is because he probably had the roughest performance. The difference between him and Oliver is the fact that Oliver didn't try too much, so there's not multiple panels where we can see him get cooked. But with Aryu, he's actually trying, and I'm not gonna get too mad at him for trying, but he gets a 5.4. He had one of the roughest nights. He tried jumping multiple times to intercept shots. They simply didn't work. Loki outsped him multiple times. He failed to intercept dangerous balls while having the longer legs. He really had an underwhelming performance against the France attack, didn't do much, didn't offer much at all. Now Gagamaru is on fraud watch. He has a 5.5. He conceded 4 goals. Some of these goals were absolutely crazy, but he did not get close. I didn't see any of those reflexes. Against a guy like Loki, we need a sweeper keeper. He should have been coming off his line to grab the balls when necessary. He didn't really offer much at all defensively for his team. This is what separates the top goalkeepers. If Gagamaru at this time had been a sweeper keeper, maybe one of those Loki transitions would not have worked, but this is where we are. He gets a 5.5. but doesn't get the worst rating so far. Now moving on to the subs. The subs were actually pretty good. Starting off with Kunigami, he gets a 6.8. The reason why is he has one of the most important interventions in the game that basically kept Japan in that game, because he is actively denying a goal scoring opportunity, and that was going to Loki. This was a guaranteed scoring opportunity for them, and it would have resulted in the game being dead at that point. But Kunigami ended up helping out, gets a good pass in to transition the attack. He wasn't really involved in anything else, but that single defensive action that stopped an actual goal from taking place is what really gives him that rating. Now the next sub is Baru. And Baru, Baru is just too goated. I don't understand why Baru gets hated on. Even though he stole the goal, this is actively what he was supposed to do. Baru only needed a few moments of actions to completely shift the momentum. He's actually out here dribbling multiple different defenders when he needs to, and he ends up scoring an excellent volley, which boosts his rating significantly when it comes to everybody else. This is a fancy finish, something that is hard to pull off. He was a pure impact sub. He didn't complain when he got on. Everything was good. He adapted from Isagi's poor state and decided to go and devour somebody else, not a Isagi dependent person like somebody we have mentioned in this video. The next person is Shido. Shido didn't have the most lasting impact, I would say, but he had some pretty chaotic plays. He had some pretty good link-up plays, dribbling, passing consistently. I really like that we saw a Shido that's actively involved in the team. Now, he didn't directly contribute to a goal, but his runs that he made allowed Baru to actually score. It put a lot of pressure on France's defense, and that's why he gets this rating. Now, when it comes to Eto'o, he had a decent performance. I'd give him a 6.5. Nothing too crazy that he did. Kept possession when he had it. Didn't really hurt the team. One of his passes got intercepted, but Rulog ended up getting it back again. So I'm not going to give him a bad performance. Now, when it comes to France's team, Loki is going to be getting a 9. Loki gets a 9 because Loki was simply terrifying every single one of the defenders. You should see some of the clips. Like, when this gets animated, you're going to be seeing Loki running past all of the defenders, jumping past some tackles. Just simple embarrassment. This is why I would never want to be a defender against a pace merchant. He scored twice. He changed the speed of the game whenever it was necessary. But the reason why I really give him a 9 is those defensive actions. He came back and used his speed to hold off people like Chigiri. Rin was defending. I didn't see Rin defend at all. Maybe I'm tweaking, but I didn't see Rin defend at all. He was nowhere back there. He's leading by example. In 9.0, he had a great game. Now, the next person is Charles, and I don't understand why people are not rating his performance, but when we analyze it, he would simply get an 8.5. Charles was brilliant in this game. He got a goal, he got an assist, and he was constantly providing services when necessary. Did he get the most screen time in this game? No, but when he did, Charles did not do anything bad. So he is one of the anchors in the chemistry between Hugo and Loki. Those were the main attacking threats of France, and that's what allowed France to be so good. That's what allowed France to be so dominant for the long part of this game, because of their trio. So obviously he gets an 8.5. But the one who had an unbelievable game, getting a 9.5, is Hugo. And as much as I don't really like Hugo personally, like, there's nothing wrong with his character. He's just the type of people I wouldn't like. You know, I'm an Isagi Glazer, but he simply was the best player on the team. Man of the match performances. He was creating chances, he was progressing the ball, he was winning duels defensively, and he was scoring goals. He literally did everything in this game. He controlled the pace of the game, allowed various characters to use their abilities. Earlier on, he gets an assist with Charles, combines perfectly with Loki, then he sets himself up for a shot, dribbles past Isagi multiple times. The only thing that lowers his rating a little bit is that he actually got cooked by Isagi. I don't care if it was a luck battle. Isagi put him in that position. Hugo got confident, thought Isagi was still the same, and then he got cooked, he got punished. And if it wasn't for Rin, Isagi would have scored and it would have been 3-3. This is how the game should have actually ended. But those are my ratings. Hugo is the man of the match. With Loki, really could have, but Hugo just had an amazing performance. Man of the match on the other team, we would have to give it to Karasu. But overall, Japan finds itself in a very tough situation. They have lost points, which means that their next game against England is going to be decisive, especially if England ends up beating Nigeria. But I do count on Isagi. He did end up beating Hugo. And with this new state that Isagi has, I do believe that there is hope for Blue Lock. And if you don't really understand how Isagi ended up beating Hugo, which he mentions at the end of the game, you have to watch this video right here.